Nobody likes to talk about it, but deep down, every man has felt that quiet confusion. Why is she unhappy? You give her everything you can, attention, affection, stability. Yet somehow, it's never enough. One moment she's warm and soft, the next she's distant, cold, wrapped in a silence that feels heavier than any argument. You start wondering if you did something wrong, if you missed a signal, if you changed. But the truth is darker and more complicated than that. She's not fighting you. She's fighting herself. Women don't become unhappy because of one thing. It's an accumulation, invisible, slow, and merciless. It begins the moment she learns that being loved is conditional, that she must be pretty to be noticed, quiet to be accepted, useful to be valued. She grows up mastering the art of pretending to be calm when she's furious, pretending to be okay when she's exhausted, pretending to be grateful when she feels unseen. And every year of pretending takes a piece of her authenticity, until one day she doesn't recognize herself in the mirror. You see, female unhappiness isn't born out of chaos. It's born out of suppression. A lifetime of being told to smile when she wants to scream, to forgive when she's been betrayed, to nurture others even when she's starving emotionally. The world taught her to give, to fix, to carry, but never to stop and ask, who's carrying me? And when she finally meets a man who truly cares, something strange happens. He becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, she sees all the parts of herself she abandoned long ago. The dreams she postponed, the passions she buried, the innocence she lost. She should feel grateful, but instead she feels restless, because that reflection reminds her of everything she used to be before life trained her to perform. That's the secret no one tells you. Many women are not unhappy because their lives are bad. They're unhappy because they've betrayed themselves trying to make their lives good. They were told happiness would come through perfection, through being the ideal partner, the ideal mother, the ideal woman, but perfection is the enemy of peace. So even when she has love, security, comfort, something in her still aches. That ache is the price of pretending. She's not angry at you. She's angry at the silence she's been living in. The silence that tells her you should be grateful. The silence that says other women have it worse. The silence that whispers don't make it about you. And so she smiles at dinner, folds the laundry, plans the vacation, all while quietly drowning inside her own unspoken sadness. You want to save her, but how do you save someone from a cage they don't realize they built themselves? Her silence grows louder with time. You start to notice it in the way she withdraws during conversations, the way her eyes glaze over when you try to cheer her up. She says she's fine, but her energy says otherwise. And that's when the confusion starts, because everything seems fine on the surface. There's no big fight, no betrayal, no reason. Yet the warmth between you is fading, replaced by something colder, something invisible. You think maybe she's bored, maybe you're not doing enough. So you try harder, more attention, more effort, more care, and somehow it makes things worse. That's the paradox of an unhappy woman. The more you try to fix her, the more she resents you for reminding her she needs fixing. Because your effort exposes what she's been hiding, the quiet truth that she doesn't feel like herself anymore. She used to know who she was, confident, passionate, spontaneous. But somewhere between expectations, responsibilities, and the endless race to prove her worth, she lost that woman. And every time you look at her with love, you accidentally show her a reflection of what she's lost. You see, female unhappiness often hides beneath competence. The woman who has it all together is often the one falling apart inside. She's the strong one, the dependable one, the one everyone leans on. But strength, when it becomes armor, eventually turns into isolation. No one checks on the strong woman because everyone assumes she's fine. And when she finally breaks down, it shocks everyone, except her, because she's been breaking slowly for years in silence. When she enters a relationship, she brings that silence with her. She doesn't want to. She even believes love will save her from it, but silence travels with her like a shadow. You feel it when she begins to pull away emotionally, when her affection becomes selective, when small things start irritating her. You forget to text her back right away, and she takes it as a sign you don't care. You plan something thoughtful, but she focuses on the one thing you missed. It's not about the text or the plan. It's about the void inside her that no gesture can fill. And this is where most men lose themselves, trying to fill a void that isn't theirs to fix. You start walking on eggshells, adjusting your behavior, monitoring your words. You tell yourself, maybe if I'm more patient, she'll relax. Maybe if I work harder, she'll smile again. But the more you give, the less she values it. Not because she's cruel, but because she's trapped in a mental loop where nothing feels like enough. Her unhappiness isn't about what's happening now. It's about what's missing from long before you came along. You might think it's your fault that she's cold, distant, critical. It's not. She's reenacting an old story, one written in childhood. Maybe her father was emotionally absent. Maybe her mother taught her love is sacrifice. Maybe she learned early that being seen is dangerous, so she built a life where she's invisible but safe. And now, when you try to love her deeply, she feels threatened. Because to truly receive love, she'd have to be vulnerable, and vulnerability feels like exposure. So she keeps testing you. She picks fights, creates emotional distance, complains about small things. These are not random mood swings, they are defense mechanisms. Each conflict is a test. Will you leave like everyone else? Will you still love me when I'm unlovable? Can you handle the real me, not the one I pretend to be? But here's the tragedy. Every time she tests you, she pushes you further away, confirming the very fear she's trying to disprove. In her mind, she's not sabotaging the relationship. She's protecting herself. Because love, for her, is both the cure and the threat. She craves it but doesn't trust it. She wants safety but fears dependence. She wants closeness but can't stand feeling exposed. It's like she's standing in front of a locked door holding the key, yet too afraid to open it because the last time she did, she got hurt. Most men misread this confusion as manipulation or emotional immaturity. But in reality, it's emotional programming. Decades of cultural messages telling women they must be perfect, desired, powerful, yet soft, humble, and selfless, all at once. No wonder she's exhausted. No wonder she's angry. She's been fighting an impossible war inside her head, between independence and intimacy, pride and vulnerability, freedom and belonging. And this internal conflict seeps into every part of her life. She compares herself to everyone, her friends, her coworkers, strangers online. She scrolls through social media and sees a world full of women who seem happier, prettier, more loved, more successful. She doesn't see their pain, only their highlights. And that comparison poisons her mind, turning gratitude into bitterness. Even if she has a good life, she feels like she's missing something more. The truth no one wants to admit is that many women are addicted to dissatisfaction. It gives them purpose. It fuels their conversations, their online posts, even their friendships. Misery becomes community. They bond over complaints, over who's more tired, more unappreciated, more misunderstood. It's not malicious, it's human. But it keeps them trapped in a loop of self-pity and projection. And every man who tries to save them becomes another casualty in that emotional war. What makes this so tragic is that she doesn't want to be this way. Deep down, she wants peace. She wants to feel light again. But she's forgotten how. Because happiness, for her, isn't safe, it feels foreign. Peace feels suspicious. Love feels fragile. And so, she keeps chasing what she doesn't trust and destroying what she needs most. You'll never hear her say it out loud, but inside she's screaming, I don't know who I am anymore. And no man can answer that for her. You can hold her hand through the storm, but you can't stop the rain. Because the truth, the one no one tells you, is that the most dangerous kind of unhappiness is not loud or visible. It's the kind that hides behind polite smiles, subtle sarcasm, and long silences. It's the kind that slowly drains the soul of both people in the relationship until love itself feels like a burden. And that's when she starts to believe something that changes everything, that maybe love isn't enough. But what she doesn't realize yet is that it's not love that failed her. It's the version of herself she had to become to survive it. The roots of her unhappiness run deeper than most people dare to imagine. You see, an unhappy woman doesn't just appear out of nowhere. She's built over years, layer by layer, by a world that taught her the wrong lessons about love, worth, and identity. Long before she met any man, long before she knew what heartbreak was, something inside her started to fracture. And it usually began in childhood. As a little girl, she learned that being loved meant earning it. Maybe her father's affection came only when she achieved something. Good grades, good manners, good behavior. Maybe her mother was emotionally absent, too busy or too bitter to notice her. Or maybe her mother was there, but always dissatisfied, always complaining, always exhausted. And the girl absorbed that unhappiness like oxygen. That's how the first program is written. Love equals effort, happiness equals performance. She learns to chase approval instead of peace, to read moods instead of emotions, to become whatever others need, just to feel safe. Every compliment becomes a small drug, every disappointment a withdrawal. By the time she's an adult, she's addicted not to love, but to validation. When she enters a relationship, that childhood code begins to run automatically. She doesn't even know it's there. She measures your love not by how much you give, but by how hard she has to work for it. If you're too kind, too consistent, too available, her subconscious says this can't be real. Love shouldn't feel this easy. So she starts to push, tests you, creates friction. She needs to feel the struggle because struggle is the language she was raised to speak. Then there's the mother pattern, one of the most destructive forces in the psychology of modern women. If she watched her mother constantly complain about men, about marriage, about life, she internalized that bitterness as normal. Unhappiness became familiar, even comforting. She saw love as suffering, relationships as disappointment, and men as inevitable sources of frustration. So now, as an adult, she unconsciously recreates what she knows, even if it makes her miserable. Because humans don't chase happiness. They chase what's familiar. You can see it in her behavior. She falls in love passionately, idealizes the man, and when reality doesn't match the fantasy, when he turns out to be human instead of a hero, she feels betrayed. She starts saying things like, "You've changed," when really, she's the one whose illusions are crumbling. And the pain of losing that illusion feels like heartbreak, even when nothing catastrophic happened. But it doesn't stop there. Society keeps feeding her new programs, each more poisonous than the last. She's told she can have it all. Career, family, beauty, wealth, adventure, freedom. And if she doesn't, she must have failed. Every scroll through social media becomes a reminder that someone else is doing it better. Someone else has the perfect husband, perfect skin, perfect home. She doesn't see that it's all edited, filtered, staged. All she knows is that she's behind on happiness, behind on success, behind on life. That's when envy quietly replaces gratitude. She starts to believe she was cheated by life, that she deserves more. Not because she's greedy, but because she's been told that more is what happiness looks like. So even when she achieves something, it instantly loses value. The new job, the vacation, the proposal, the house. It all fades into gray the moment it's hers. Because her brain has been conditioned to chase the next thing, not enjoy the present one. And men get caught in the middle of that endless chase. He thinks if he works harder, provides more, plans better, she'll finally relax. But the finish line keeps moving. Not because she's cruel, but because happiness, for her, is always just out of reach. Every milestone becomes another reminder that fulfillment doesn't live where she keeps looking for it. But here's the darkest part. For some women, unhappiness becomes identity. It gives them a sense of control. If they're always dissatisfied, they're never vulnerable. If they're always criticizing, they're never exposed. The unhappiness becomes armor, cold, heavy, but familiar. And once a person builds an identity around pain, letting go of it feels like death. You can see the generational pattern if you look closely. The grandmother who spent her life bitter at her husband for not doing enough. The mother who repeated the same cycle. And now the daughter promising she'll never be like them. yet slowly becoming a mirror of both. 3 generations of women living different lives, but carrying the same invisible wound. I am not enough, and nothing I have will ever be enough either. It's not genetics, it's inheritance of emotion. The way trauma echoes through gestures, phrases, silences. The same sigh, the same complaint, the same hopeless look in the mirror. And each generation passes it down, thinking they're just being realistic when in truth they're teaching despair. By the time she reaches adulthood, she's already carrying centuries of programming. From parents, culture, religion, and media, all whispering the same toxic mantra. You'll be happy when you find the right man, when you lose the weight, when you buy the house, when you finally prove yourself. But every when becomes another chain around her soul. Because happiness that depends on conditions will always collapse under reality. She doesn't realize yet that the emptiness isn't punishment. It's a signal, a deep internal message saying, you've been living someone else's story for too long. But she's too busy trying to fix the wrong problem. Changing her job, her appearance, her partner, when what she really needs to change is her reflection of herself. Because the truth is, the world didn't steal her happiness. It convinced her to trade it for approval. By the time she realizes how deeply the unhappiness has rooted itself, it's already taken everything. Her softness, her peace, her ability to feel joy without questioning it. She still smiles in photos, still posts moments that look perfect, but inside she feels hollow, like she's living life on mute. And here's the brutal truth. Once a woman gets used to that emptiness, she starts to protect it. Because as much as it hurts, it's hers. It's familiar. It's predictable. You can't save a woman who has fallen in love with her own pain. She doesn't even know she's doing it. She'll say things like, I just want to be happy. But every action says otherwise. She clings to drama because peace feels boring. She picks fights when things are calm because chaos feels real. She rewrites every good moment into a problem because she doesn't trust joy. It feels too fragile, too temporary. And so she destroys it before it has a chance to disappear. This is why so many men feel trapped in emotional quicksand. They love a woman who constantly tests them, questions them, drains them, and they still stay, because they remember who she was at the beginning. The woman who laughed easily, who looked at them with admiration, who made them feel alive. What they don't understand is that that woman was real, but she was also temporary, a glimpse of who she wanted to be before her old programs took control again. Over time, her unhappiness infects everything. Every conversation turns into a test. Every act of love becomes a transaction. She measures, calculates, interprets, assumes. You bring her coffee, and she wonders what you did wrong. You surprise her with flowers, and she suspects guilt. You work late, she feels neglected. You come home early, she feels suffocated. You can't win because the war isn't with you. It's inside her. And here's the part that most men refuse to face. You cannot outlove her unhappiness. You cannot hug away her childhood, fix her mother's resentment, or heal the wounds she refuses to see. You can't argue with trauma. You can't reason with programming. You can't compete with the ghost of who she thinks she should be. You can only choose. Stay and lose yourself trying to fix her, or walk away and grieve the woman she could have become. But not all stories end in despair, because some women do wake up, usually after everything collapses, after the marriage ends, after the man leaves, after she's alone with the echo of her own dissatisfaction. That's when she finally sees the pattern. Every relationship failed for the same reason. Every man wasn't enough. But they were all mirrors reflecting the same truth. The problem wasn't them. The strongest women aren't the ones who never fall apart. They're the ones who finally stop blaming everyone else when they do. They stop chasing the fantasy of more and start rebuilding from within. They learn to sit with themselves without distraction, without noise, without someone to blame. And in that silence, they find something sacred. Accountability. That's when everything changes. She starts noticing the beauty in small things again. She feels grateful instead of envious. She stops trying to control love and begins to receive it. And that's when the real transformation begins, not when she finds a better man, but when she becomes a woman capable of peace. But let's be honest, most never reach that point. Because peace requires humility. Gratitude requires surrender. And surrender feels like death to someone who's built an identity around control. So instead, she keeps running. From one relationship to the next. From one illusion to another. Until she's old enough to realize that what she's been chasing was never love. Never money. Never perfection. It was herself. And for men, the lesson is equally painful. You can't make her happy. You can only love her honestly and see her clearly. You can choose compassion without becoming her therapist, kindness without becoming her savior. And when the day comes that you realize she's drowning but refuses to swim, you must choose yourself. Because if you keep trying to save her from her own reflection, she'll pull you under with her. The truth no one tells you is this: female unhappiness isn't just a mood. It's a system, a set of emotional laws passed down through generations, reinforced by culture, romanticized by media, and fueled by comparison. And until a woman decides to rewrite that system from within, no man, no success, no perfect life can set her free. So the next time you see a woman who seems perpetually dissatisfied, remember, she's not broken, she's unfinished. She's still fighting to remember who she was before the world told her what she should be. And maybe the kindest thing you can do is not try to fix her, but to finally stop taking her unhappiness personally. Because the truth no one tells you is simple. You can't heal someone who keeps reopening their own wounds. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away.